Welcome to another episode of the Rugby League Outsiders. My name's Craig.
And my name's Karl.
And this week we've got two awesome guests with us from the Staffordshire Quantums. We've got Matt Williscroft and Martin de Ridder. We've put down loosely as administrators, and after this episode you can make up your own mind as to what roles they play in the team. We're going to look through their journey into Rugby League and this initial season. We're also going to tackle 6 local news stories, so newsworthy stories from around the region. So welcome, gents.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay, let's launch into our set of 6 then, Karl.
So we've got national and international stories this week, so here we go. So tackle 1, Women's Super League Midlands has finally started. We've been talking it up for weeks, and this week it finally happened. Leamington played Telford in the first Women's Super League Midlands game. Leamington came out on top narrowly, but I suppose the main thing here is that the score wasn't important. The fact that fixture got underway and we've finally got a women's league in the Midlands is just massive news, really.
Yeah, and what I saw, I don't know if you lads saw it as well, but just like big pictures of big smiling faces, from the both women teams. So they both clearly enjoyed it, which is amazing.
No, it was good to see that result came in, and good to see also, it was just as hyped up by both of the clubs in anticipation, and they were quite clearly and rightly proud of having been able to get that up and running, and fair play to both clubs, really.
It's another notch, isn't it, in the Midlands? The sport's growing. Yeah,
no one can deny. Like the RFL or whatever up north could never say, well, there's nothing really happening in the Midlands, because there freaking is loads happening. Including yourselves.
But like I say, the beauty is, as soon as they play, they realise it's a great game. There's not many people who leave the pitch and go, that was rubbish. So it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quality.
Brilliant.
Just a bit of a shout out to Leamington as well, because weekend just gone, they put out a women's team, a second team, and their first team went over to Coventry, so they fielded 3 sides in the same weekend, which is, testament to them, really.
Yeah, great.
Tackle 2, the Magic Weekend is here to stay for another year. Clubs have unanimously voted for it for another season of the Magic Weekend. Craig, you was at the Magic Weekend. I haven't been for a while, so I'd let you comment. Is it worth keeping? Is it?
Well, I don't remember much.
All right, then.
Because they were selling like double pint pitchers of Guinness. We had a fair few of them, but no, it was an amazing atmosphere, and I think like record crowds. It was incredible. And I tell you, there's a mark of like how good an event it was. Because I was part of a stag do, we took 2 lads from the Midlands had never even watched rugby league, didn't even know anything about it. They just picked 2 teams. One lad picked Castleford, one lad picked Salford, right? And they just bought a shirt off eBay and they went to the Magic Weekend. Like now they're in the bloody fans' pictures on Facebook, singing with the shirts off, and they absolutely loved it. And both were diehard football fans, and they both said you just would not get that at a football match. And I thought that was incredible.
I mean, there's been some talk about the location of it as well, hasn't there? I mean, the one thing that Newcastle, I've been to Newcastle, out in Newcastle a few times. It is one of the few towns where cities where the club is. It's right next to the town, isn't it? So I mean, that helps. I mean, between it and Millennium Stadium in Cardiff or whatever it's called these days, I think that helps really. I mean, you can even some of the more iconic football stadiums.
Still
whether it be Anfield or Man City or whatever, they're out in the sticks a little bit. I mean, you could, if you did it in Birmingham, Aston Villa's out in the sticks.
Yeah.
Birmingham City sort of in the sort of industrial area. It's
Alexander Stadium's a pretty decent place to host it, I reckon.
Well, we went the other week, and one of the Doncaster fans said as soon as they move into the main, it's going to be the best stadium in Rugby League.
So. It is, yeah. No, just on that as well, you wouldn't believe it. So we fell out of the stadium, absolutely pissed out of our faces, into the first pub. We had an absolute storm in there. A guy dressed as Prince walked in, right? Which, was just like, that's it, stag done, tick, done. But believe it or not, the village people then walked in. It was just incredible. It was a great night.
So I guess my question is, did you take the press pass?
No, I didn't. I didn't take it. I'm bloody glad I didn't.
Good job. She might be banned by now.
Cancelled.
Yeah.
Tackle 3. Big East Midlands derby took place this week. We were talking it up last week. Derby Elks versus Sherwood, both neck and neck in the league. I think it was 3rd v 4th. Derby came out on top. So first time since 2017, I believe. Score was 34 points to 26.
Yeah, amazing.
Right, so I got a quote from John Doughty at Derby Elks, so just a quick quote from him. So, after travelling around Yorkshire these last 4 matches, finalising with heavy defeat upon league leaders Upton, it was a relief to finally play at home. Perfect weather and a large crowd were shown a decent representation of what rugby league is like. An even game which was only resolved in the last 10 minutes as Derby Elks went 2 scores ahead after a try by Liam Gavin. Played in good spirit and well refereed, resulting in an Elks win over Sherwood Wolfhunt since 2017. Both teams continue to represent the Midlands in the Yorkshire Men's League with decent results. Like I say, the neck and neck. I think Derby have got 2 games in hand over them, so Adam, our old mate that was on, he'll be wanting to get one back, I think, on the return fixture. Tackle 4 then, Toronto Wolfpack are back. The Pack are back, and they've confirmed they will be playing fixtures from July through to October. They're going to be playing teams from Canada, USA and Jamaica, funnily enough. So that's quite exciting to see where that goes. I don't know if you guys...
Imagine an away game to Jamaica.
Well, yeah. Right, tackle 5 then. So this is over you guys, really. Quantums hosted a 3-way Merit League fixture this weekend, or I don't know how you described it as 3.
Well, we described it as a 3-way, and I was making great jokes about this. And Leamington didn't like the sound of that, and he sort of delved into the WWE history, and he was calling it a triple threat.
A triple threat match.
No, it wasn't a triple threat, really, was it? It was
double threat.
A tournament, a 3-way tournament.
It sounded like a tournament, and then that's what everyone... One of the things when we first came into rugby union, one of the rugby league, what that I said is there a WhatsApp group with all the clubs in? And we asked the Telford guys, and they said, oh, no, there isn't one. So we basically set one up, and it's got most of the clubs that we are likely to be playing.
Yeah.
Quite a few of the officials, the guy who sorts the referees out and bits and pieces like that. So Marcus is the guy who runs Leamington.
Yeah, and, Marcus Pascal, is it?
Mark and Pascal, isn't it?
And we'd sorted our game out, but both us and Telford midweek were a bit sketchy. I think we were meant to be playing Telford developments, and both of us were a little bit sketchy on numbers. Our numbers were good, but we were a bit worried about how many of those would show up.
We had 21 on the team sheet, didn't we? On the Thursday when we announced it, and I was like...
So you've always got to knock 5 off that, haven't you?
And then we got the message off Martin saying, you've got 20 players, I think you'll be all right. I was like, no, we're not. We're definitely not going to be all right.
We knew who was on there, so we knew we weren't going to be all right. And then Marcus had dropped in the WhatsApp group and said, I'm going to have to set the lads down. Is there anyone available for a development game? And it's something that we've done we do it sort of lower levels of rugby union all the time. We said, well, organise it as a 3-way tournament or whatever you want to call it. And then potentially the bench for one of the teams, you can share the benches. Yeah. As it turned out, actually, all teams showed up with enough players and benches, so no one was lending anything to anyone really, and we got 3 matches on, and it was it was good. We've got a great photograph of all the 3.
We should shout out Dan Bailey, the referee. So when we asked him, we said, "I can play 35 minutes." 3/3.
25 minutes it started with.
Yeah, it did, and then we pushed it to 35, and it was all game, wasn't it? So
he had a long afternoon. Yeah, he did. He did
get
well.
an extra sausage on his
he came down from Melton Mowbray as well.
Did
so
he?
He had a nice drive down. Yeah.
Yeah, cheese is the big thing for me.
And the results were
pork pies. Yeah.
How did you get on? What were the results?
We lost to Telford 22-16, and then we beat Leamington. Sorry, then Telford comfortably beat Leamington, and then
ours was 38 last game, wasn't it?
And then we had a comfortable win actually.
But then Leamington, I think they got into the groove of it by the end. I think there were quite a lot of new players in there, and they scored the last 2 tries. So it's a shame, really. I think if they were playing a bit more,
a bit longer,
yeah.
Well, I think they would have all of a sudden,
I think probably that's why those games are so important, really, because they're developing players. And again, it's great news that you got Telford and Leamington have both put out a second string side or a development side in the same weekend.
Well, to be fair, Telford had, I think, 1 player who's played first team, the rest are all development. And Leamington obviously had a game on, so it was fantastic, wasn't it? That's what we wanted.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was. No, it went well. I think that's the way to do it. I think sometimes there's a bit of machismo around, and we've all had to do this over the course of our sporting careers, for want of a better word, that who's going to go and play for the opposition to get a game on.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes there is a bit, unfortunately, of a stigma to that. There's an element of it not quite feeling like it's a proper game. So when you can do that, so if a couple of Leamington lads have been needed to come and play for us or us for Leamington, it doesn't quite feel the same as when you're playing against your own club. So, I mean, I think we'd probably think there should be encourage a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be great.
I don't want to get too much into this because we'll talk about things.
Right.
But I am genuinely, I mean, financially, how good was it for the club?
This season or that game on Saturday?
Just that game, like a three-way triple threat, whatever it's called, with a
ladder
cherry
match.
on top.
Well,
Ladder match, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had a very healthy bar take on Saturday.
Yeah.
750, something like that. Over the course, we had something else on in the evening, so we didn't quite distinguish it. Everything's done on sum up now, isn't it? So you could probably see which pints, if you were to analyse that, which were the pints being sold in which game. But I mean, we'll come on to it. But I mean, it's been a success story for.
But then we learned lessons from that, haven't we? So previously to that, we was paying for everything, wasn't we? Food, all that kind of stuff was getting covered by the club. Then we've seen, I can't think of what.
Telford.
And they put that sponsorship stuff on, the match ball, the
game day sponsor,
and we use that for food and the man of the match stuff. We use that for food, covering the referees, and that's really out. And
massively.
And because we're only charging £30 for it, people have been quite willing to pay for it. Which is
it opens it up to different sponsors, right? So I mean. Say if we've got 90 quid before that game started on Saturday, the costs of the game are completely covered, and then everything else is just revenue and profit. And we're a can only bar, so we haven't got draft. So our profit margin is determined by basically what special offers are on in Tesco. So
love it.
I think there was a decent offer on Carling at the weekend.
You've not had to resort to Lamborghini yet, then.
No, we probably have.
We've got
at some point.
At some point, we will have. So.
When Ladies' Day comes around.
We have done one.
I know. I actually said that's why I said it.
I'm sure it was a more quality wine than Lamborghini, but not by much, I would have said.
Tackle 6 then. Wheelchair Super League rolls into Manchester this Saturday. All 6 Super League teams are taking part, so it's part of a number of inclusion rounds that they've done, where they moved it from Birmingham, Newcastle. This week it's in Manchester. All 6 Super League teams are playing, and it's free entry. And then I've also, just a quick note on Wheelchair Rugby League, great news that came out this week. A lot of the England boys from the Rugby League World Cup have been awarded OBEs, and a previous guest of ours, James Simpson, has been awarded an MBE, so I'd just like to sort of go on record and say, congratulations. Yeah, it's absolutely well deserved. Yeah, and if you haven't watched that episode yet, go and watch it because it's a belter. Really, really interesting, and not had the traction really that kind of it deserves. So go and watch it. It's a great episode.
I thought it was the best one you did, to be fair.
Yeah,
we also thought that.
Yeah, I did.
That's it. Tackle 6. We're all rock and roll.
Yeah, amazing. Right. So we've done our set of 6. Now we hand over to you. So really, we're going to talk about your team's route into rugby league, perhaps your own individual route into rugby league, how your interest was sparked, and all that kind of stuff. And what I'm really keen to hear about as well is some of the challenges you've had setting up the club, and getting going, and then some of the highlights throughout the season. So let's pull that right back and just talk a little bit about how the Staffordshire Quantums came about.
Well, I think it started with one of our lads, Spinky, really, myself. A few years ago, I was chatting about fitness before the season started for Union. I was talking about maybe doing a rugby league, a couple of friendlies here and there. Then this year, when the tackle idol fiasco came in rugby league, Union, we thought, maybe this is the time to start, and we did. We set up the team, didn't we? After a couple of challenges, you was going, just set it up.
I mean, I was thinking. I think I was sceptical when you said it a couple of back. It's since the COVID times, like, well, people just want a break, and let's not bother. We had years in the past, and that was another sort of match idea that I sort of partially took over. We played a bit of rugby union sevens in the summer, and sort of almost set up a bit of a series of that, doing it. And then I think you might have even been saying in the past too, something I was a bit sceptical, but then I was pissed off about how all that tackle heights stuff happened. So when he said it this year, I was like, yeah, let's
just do it.
Let's just do it. I'd also got a kit designed for the rugby union team, which I quite liked, and I thought, oh, I bet you that'd look great with a big black, with a big V on it. So I got that sorted pretty quickly, and we were sort of away. I mean, the reality is that wasn't that much of a challenge, because it was one of those things where you just dropped an email to the RFL. You saw something in you, and they responded the next day.
Yeah. To be fair, it was, it came
quite
through.
Easy.
I thought it was quite easy, really. I mean, before you know it, we've got a team set up on paper.
Yeah.
And then, you get the challenges afterwards, and we're, in the group chat, in the rugby organisation chat, we're talking about it. And it's kind of, one of the lads, Brad, is going, oh, I've got a guy who can do some coaching. But we'd never spoke to him, had we? And it was kind of like one of them where it's like,
is he telling us, does this person really exist? I'm not saying that Brad's a bullshitter, although there's a bit of bullshit about him in some respects. He would deny that. But I mean, one of the unsaid things, really, actually, I think about rugby league outside of the heartlands, the role that the army plays in that.
The whole all forces,
the forces in general,
And so near where we are in Rugeley, there is a barracks called Whittington Barracks, which is where all the army does and the forces generally do the medical training. And so Brad is up here doing whatever he does and whatever it's called for a couple of years. He played rugby union for us. He first of all said, oh, I fancy playing rugby league. I've never played it before. He says, there's this guy here, Baz. I always forget Baz's full proper name. I just call him Baz. What's his full name?
Andrew Baz.
And so he's not in a Barry. He's not even a Barry, is he?
No.
And that's partly why, because I thought he might be a Barry, but he's not a Barry. And he said he's coming, and he couldn't come the first week. We had a training session, and then the next week he came down, and that really then we did get that first training session. So
that was quite lucky though, really, because we had nothing on paper, did we? That's what I'm saying. Really, it was just kind of
turned into real,
and in terms of all the other jobs, I put myself down as them jobs, and I thought we could do that. That's not an issue. So organising fixtures, doing paper, that kind of stuff was never going to be an issue. The coaching was going to be the issue, but we just kind of went, we'll just do it, build it. See what
I think most
up.
people, like, their biggest issue is players, isn't it? Finding players. I mean,
I wasn't worried about the players.
I would say that of any new team that's ever started up, you must be the most successful for the number of players you've brought in. So how many? Because you're involved with Rugeley Rugby Union Club.
Yeah.
How many of those guys are Rugeley Rugby Union players?
Wow.
I mean, it depends match to match. Our idea was we didn't just want it to be. Matt said from the beginning, even though we called it Rugby Quantums to start with, if we market it as a Rugeley,
we wanted it separate, didn't we?
We wanted it separate, and because we didn't want we wanted some of the other players, some of the rugby union clubs to come down and we've got quite a good relationship with the lads from Cannock. They're meant to be our sort of local rivals, but we know their captain is from Rugeley originally, and we know him well. And he was keen to do it. Was another one that sort of said, "Oh, I've always fancied to do this," and he brought a car full of people down. A couple of lads from Barton under Needwood, again notionally sort of one of our rivals, but we got to know some of them lads, and they've started to come down. So we tried to make it like it was, and it is.
Well, we started as Rugby Quantums, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we started as Rugby Quantums, played a game or two games, and then we had that chat amongst ourselves. Really, we branded it wrong in the first instance, because that's what we want. What we wanted, it's like I was saying to you, wasn't it? What we really wanted was people to come in and play, and not feel like they're playing for Rugby Rugby Club or playing Rugby League for Rugby Rugby Club. And the other thing I was saying is, what we don't want is them to come in and the coaches from all the other clubs they're just trying to steal our players.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with Martin many times. It's kind of like, we want them to play for us, but then we want them to fuck off.
Yeah, we want them to go. Yeah. And to the point whereby if they even turned around to us and said they did, we'd say no, you can't. I mean, we did recruit one from. And we also recruited one from Sutton Coldfield mixed netball team, which we did.
Oh, right, okay.
So I mean, we did a bit of PR. We've been pretty good at the social media side of things. And we've changed that as well, actually, as we learned a lot doing the rugby league. But we did blast it out on all of those, and we got good numbers of that first training session. That does go up and down, by the way.
Yeah,
we have training sessions last week.
I think that was the first kind of shot across the bow, wasn't it? Because we was like, right, as a new club starting, oh great, we mentioned it on the podcast, and then within a couple of weeks, first training session, it was like just a load of numbers, and we was like, freaking hell, this is. And then we played a game, and we played a first game against Telford, and I mean
there was absolutely loads of people turned out for that, weren't there?
It's like I was saying, really, it's like watching a car crash, isn't it? That's the feeling I got. They all come down to watch, and there's loads of the players who now play, isn't there?
Yeah, and there was a couple of them who'd come down. They were just going to watch. They were rubberneckers.
Yeah,
and a few of them came and got the kit on as the day went on.
Yeah.
And
then a few of them, as you say, watched it, and then they've all got stuck in.
I mean, that first game, it was 80-20 or something we lost. And we was really proud of that, to be honest.
Yeah, because we kept going. I mean, Telford were great, actually. And
to be fair, they had about 30-odd players.
They did. No, they did. And they started strong as well, I think, whilst they were testing it out. And the warm-up looked very professional and everything else like that. And I swear to God, I mean, we didn't touch the ball for the first 10 minutes. There was about 4 tries just continuously. I think we only got to tackle 2 after. It took us about 15 minutes to get to tackle 2. We almost did score one as a forward pass. We almost did score one quite good breakaway try.
Ref are really harsh on that. I was stood right on the sideline when that try was given. I thought, that's a tough decision, that, especially when you the points behind that you were as well.
We've learned subsequently that sideways in rugby league has got quite a generous interpretation.
I think the referees are quite liked us as well, because we've played games and we've just gone, mate, we don't know what we're fucking doing. Why is that a penalty? And they'll go, oh, because you've done this. Oh, okay, thanks. We just move on.
Yeah, we were. I think we've sort of, in some respects, had the benefit of the doubt there. The funniest thing from that, when we recruited players, we weren't. You see names in WhatsApp groups, so we just shared the link around joining this WhatsApp group, and thankfully, we did. Often when you do that, you get a load of people trying to sell you Bitcoin or something. So we didn't get any people like spamming us. And there's one lad who's in there, Lee. Let's just learn names. We didn't know who was who.
Yeah.
So in this first game, this lad rocks up, and he's
ball dead, stocky.
Really sort of looks almost sort of like a Desperate Dan type, bit of sort of stubble. Looks like he's played before. Is he? Yeah. And it's one of those where it's not so much what's his name. It's that such and such, or is that such and such? But we know his name's Lee. And he
starts on the wing, doesn't he?
He starts. He plays the whole game. We've got loads of lads sort of asking him different questions. Do I stand here? Where do I? What do I do here?
And I think he's going along with it a bit. He's like, yeah, you're right here.
He wasn't like looking startled. He was chatting them back to them. And we found out we've got this player called Kelvin, a rugby union player who drinks in the Pear Tree pub in Rugeley. This guy played no kind of rugby ever in his life. He just drank with Kelvin in the Pear Tree pub. We were asking him all sorts.
How old is he?
13, maybe.
Yeah.
13. He just looked like he should play.
I think the beauty was he played on the opposite wing to where the coach was, so he stayed on the whole time. And because we conceded 80 points, you can't really blame the wing, can you? Yeah. So it just looked like he was just playing as normal.
Yeah, I didn't. That's been my only action actually in that game.
Oh, Baz, he come on. 5 minutes, Baz, get him off. Get him off.
I was put in the wrong position, I think, because.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. So they described me as I was tackling like a turnstile, basically.
Exactly like a turnstile.
So after that game, anyway, we're in the changing rooms and all that's going, that's really good, We did all right there. We scored some points. We get down to the club. We're doing the man of the matches, Dick of the Day. And Telford's coach starts speaking. And he's like, oh, you're really stuck in there. I know it was hard. And we're thinking, mate, we're more than chuffed with that.
Yeah, we were.
Losing by 80 was a lot less than we thought we would.
And scoring 20 was
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it
was,
was
yeah.
sweet. So what about the name? It might be a little bit of a loaded question, but where did the Quantums come from? We know about the change in.
Well, we've had 3 changes really.
Right.
So at first we were just Rugby Rugby League.
Yeah.
And then my brother-in-law and sister own a business called Quantum Comms. And they said, we'll sponsor you. So they paid for all the kit. And then we said, we'll just call it Rugby Quantums because they've spent so much money on us.
Therefore, you've got to sponsor us every single year going forward. That's a cracking idea, that is.
I mean, with Rob as well, he probably will. I mean, it has posed one slight difficulty is Rob likes he's basically 40. He's played a couple of the games, but he watching really with his kit on rather than him particularly desperately trying to get on. But he likes a cigarette. And after one of the games, Baz says, "Listen, guys, it's a great play today." I said, "A few things we just got to get right. We've got to make sure we're all in the same kit all of the time because we can't quite sort the shorts and the socks and bits and pieces out." And I said, "The one thing I can't abide by," and he's like subsequently told us he's the next maker, says, "I look round before at the start of every warm-up. Some of you are having," and I don't think it was some of us, it was Rob having a fag. He said,
Continuously.
"We can't ask him to stop. We can't ask him to stop, Baz. He's paid for it all. So he's paid for the shorts, the socks, and the top. So I actually quite like it as a name because it's a bit different.
Well, Quantum Mania, as you keep putting it on social media, is probably the coolest rugby name going at the minute.
Yeah.
When we moved from the Rugby Quantums, it's because the shirt maker didn't make the shirts properly.
Yeah, so they.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what happened.
We'd been on a rugby union tour earlier in the year, and you're always trying to do these things on a budget. So when we did it, when I got the kits made, I said, actually, they don't really need to be kits. They need to be in sort of that sort of material, but just whatever the cheapest material is. So when we came to order the Rugby League tops, and I rang them, I said, "Tops, we're playing on Saturday, are these going to come down?" And the guy went, "I'm sorry, I've just realised that setting your default settings, the non sort of, you couldn't play in these. Tell you what, I'll sell them you all for cheap, but I'll rerun the order." I said, that's actually quite fortuitous. Can you change it to Staffordshire on it? That works out. So there's a number of people, the replica kits that people are wearing have got Rouge on them, but the playing kits have got Staffordshire on.
So I mean, you've clearly had some hiccups and bumps in the road along the way, but you just seem to have rolled with it and taken it as part of the journey. And do you think other clubs can loosen up a little bit and just roll with some of the?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you just got to get on and do it, right? And then play some games, and it doesn't matter if you get beaten. I mean, I think sometimes we perceive with some of the teams are almost trying to, we don't want to play this week because such and such is out or whatever. I think you just got to keep. I mean, the key is to keep playing and playing as many games as you can, and I think getting as many of those games in April, May, June, when the pitches are they're starting to harden up now. It does get a bit tougher. The temperatures are increasing. So
especially when they first start playing. I mean, that interest when they first start getting them, that's where you got to hold them. Because we got them players down. We had 20 odd players, and we 24 players for games. And you think everyone else must have a similar sort of interest. And even if you haven't, if you come to Rugby and play us, we're going to have numbers to make a game up. Telford have got numbers to make it. They must have numbers. The away games are the worst bit getting players, isn't it? We went to Leamington, we went with 18, which was the lowest we had at the time.
That's still good though.
Yeah,
it is. That is really decent.
We had 24 the other week when we played the Wolf on. I mean, they came in numbers as well. But I think there isn't any real secret, I don't think, to it other than just getting on to it and not having any real sort of sense of ego, anything other than sort of just having a bit of a crack and enjoying.
I seem to think your players have bought into rugby league though fully. It's not, they haven't just come along and go, right, I'm going to just dip my toe in this and have a go in the summer and then trip back to rugby union. It feels like from the outside looking in, all your guys have like fully embraced rugby league.
The atmosphere is good, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's different. I think we've because we've come in and just said we don't mind making mistakes. You know, if you fuck up, you fuck up. And I think we've just got that on board. And I think because we're all learning as well, we've got a couple in there now who've played rugby league. When we first started, we had, you know, I'd played a little bit in the army, but not, you know, 1 or 2 years. But most people had played nothing. I think we was just quite happy with that, you know. So we've come from a place not knowing what we was doing, just to buy into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to learn something new, especially when you're coached well, I think. I mean, I do think that is probably been the big, you know, getting properly coached, learning the tackle and what the aims are of the tackle. I think that's been really interesting. And I think people who are sporty, unlike myself, the turnstile, but people who are into that, I mean, that's been fascinating and good to learn. And sometimes if you coach well, that just learning that new sport. I mean, perhaps some of our challenge might be, you know, continuing it, but I mean, it is so far so good. And
so with Baz, hasn't it? Baz coming down was a big thing, really. And he's been coached. Was it more? Did you say Moorfield?
Widnes, Moorfield, Tigers.
Yeah,
they're up in Widnes.
So under 10s or under 11s, and I think it's just been the same for him. Yeah, I don't think his coaching sessions changed at all, to be honest.
Yeah. Still getting crayons out.
Yeah, but then the lads.
He literally did that.
Yeah, he did do that. Yeah, he had a little thing on the board going, "You need to stand here and do this." And I think actually we did need that. At first you're thinking, "Oh, we don't need this." Then you sat there like, "Oh, we do need this."
What do you think, like, the knock on for the lads' reunion game will be, if any?
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think that matters. Actually, it is its own. It's its own thing. Certainly, the lads who have played, I think, will be a bit fitter when that season starts. But we've sort of been quite keen to say, well, actually, the two.
Yeah.
It stands and falls on its own, and as you say, I mean, we've properly got into it. You know, you can see in some of the chat when the NRL games are on a Friday morning, someone saying, "Oh, such and such is." The Rabbitohs are on now on Sky Arena or whatever at night, you know, and you sometimes flick onto, you can watch a bit of that, and so they have got into it. I mean, the Midlands Hurricanes is, again, we've been there like loads of times now.
So made more noise than anybody else when you went down there.
Well, there was a bit of fortune to that as well. I mean, it was
drink was involved.
It was the first. I want to say the first one we went down to was one of the bank holiday weekends. There was 3 of them, wasn't there? I don't know if it was the King Charles or the one before that, but we. It helped. It was a Sunday afternoon. We sort of worked out the trains there. We didn't really look at the trains back, which was more of a problem. And I knew I'd been to Alexander Stadium because I went to watch the Commonwealth Games there last summer. So I know where the train station was in relation to, and it's a decent little walk down. And a good crew of us went to that one. We've done that slightly differently every time, and went with the children last time, but it was less boozy. I say that, I took my son, and I think you took both your daughters to the first game when it was very boozy. So
and I'm claiming that song that was posted on the Hurricanes.
Super Hayden Freeman.
No.
Horror.
That's creative.
That was going out of tune this week, but
was trying lots of different songs with me.
Yeah.
Like, what rhymes with Hurricanes?
that was that. Yeah, and that's been part of it actually. And so everyone's got.
That's what I mean. They've bought into it, haven't they? Not just playing, supporting everything. That's
and what about supporters? Are you picking up a couple of people that are coming to watch them, even if it's just partners and family members and that?
I mean,
down the club we do, don't we? Down the club we seem to get a good turnout. People come and watch.
I mean, the first match, there was definitely some rubberneck in there. But, I mean, we publicise it quite well. We get a lot of people down. I mean, I suspect most of them are relations to the players or have got some connection to the people who are playing. But pretty good sometimes at putting on a slip and slide, which is a load of tarpaulin and a hose pipe down the hill, which is sort of proper Rugeley style, and some bouncy castles and bits and pieces, which was being erected during the games on Saturday afternoon. So we could do it. We're happy to do a little bit of that. I mean, it's rough and ready, but we do get people down. Or the absolutely brand new people that we've never seen before. There definitely will be, because some of the players are new, and it is mainly friends and family. That's grassroots sport, right? I mean, that's that's how it goes, I think.
So you've mentioned Baz. Are there any other sort of people that have helped with the setup of the club and that deserve a little bit of a mention? Or
so we've evolved really, haven't we, from where we started. So I think who was first? Spinky we got on board, didn't we?
Yeah.
And he's probably done a bit of the graphic stuff, but then he's been cooking the food as well. And
He's
then we've
got
got
stuck in. And he's one of the ones who's true. He's been to all of the Hurricanes games we've been to. He's got well into it. Sam Spink.
then we've had Dan and Jake both marking the pitch, and they're quite happy to come down and do that.
Yeah, and Jack, who just saw. I mean, I guess he's the one we completely, I think he had played a bit of rugby league at university, but was more into netball and other bits and pieces. And then he's come down and then properly got stuck in, and he's really into it. He's got a few issues with the stash. He thinks that the shirts aren't long enough, which is fine. I do appreciate that, but he's properly sort of jumped 2 foot into it, and his wife's come down and girlfriend's come down, and that's been fantastic. So
Anthony Davis has come down, took photos, done some videos, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's been good, because you weren't impressed with my videos, were you?
Oh, God, no. He did some videos at the beginning of the season of a game, and we were about to score a try, but he wants to get in a better position to watch it, so he then runs with his phone. He can't see any of the action.
We've all been
the whistle
there.
goes, and then you just see a post. You're like, bloody hell.
What?
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Wasn't the one that was the camera wasn't even facing the right way?
That's the one.
Staffordshire. I remember seeing it. I was like, what's going on here?
I was going to live film it, but I couldn't work out how to press the button to flip the camera around.
Oh, there's some terrible ones. Everyone he sent, he put about 5 or 6 in the group chat. And I was
terrible.
like, I can't use any of these.
But yeah, Anthony Davis has been a godsend. He's got we've got a guy, and shout out to Rob Spur, who's been involved in the rugby union side, and he hasn't been able to get down this summer. And Anthony, who I know from the junior section of our rugby union club, and he's black belt karate guy, but he's also into photography, so I guess that's a nice little juxtaposition. And he's been down, and then on the day that he hasn't come, his sort of 12-year-old son's come down and filmed a little bit. Quite a heavy camera though, so they looked very arty shots, because there was a slight tilt on all of them. And it was sort of like some French artistic photographer had taken all the photographs.
The Dutch angle, it's called, isn't it?
That's what somebody said. It's the Dutch angle.
The
Dutch angle. That's what somebody's been calling it that. And it was, yeah. There's been loads of people we're now going to forget. Now we've named a few people. We'll forget some people, won't we?
Shout out to Fliss Williscroft as well.
Yes.
The wife, who when I said I was starting a rugby league team, she was like, more rugby. I said, it's not the same. It's a different sport.
It's all right. It's warm in summer. You can come and sit on grass bank in there.
Well, that's what I was saying to our players, that you don't get injured in the summer. It's too warm to get injured.
And it does make a massive difference for people watching outside and drinking. I mean,
it does.
From that perspective, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I know that you guys are saying, listen, you see, rugby league supporters drink a lot more, and I'm sure there is something in that, but I think the temperature makes a massive difference. Difference as well.
I suppose the guys who ran the bar for us, really. Calvin's ran the bar. There's been quite a few, isn't there?
He got injured and then he's been
running the bar.
Yeah,
There's been quite a few, isn't there?
it's been a sort of, everyone's got, as you said, everyone's bought into it. Everyone's enjoying it. We want to sort of end it as well, right? I think that's going to be important.
I was going to say, looking forward to the rest of the season. I mean, how would you get to the end of the season? How would you know that you've actually had a great first season?
Well, we had a couple of goals, didn't we? So I think the first one, before that Telford game, I think we had like 8 players registered. It was just we had people down to training, but getting them registered was a night.
Part with money.
Pay subs, registered,
And it was one of them, I was saying to you, we need to get people registered. He's like, I'll just register. But you need to get people in. And that was the first thing. I think I was stressed about that up until the Friday night, Saturday morning. And then we had a couple more. Also, and then on game day, we had 4 or 5 people sign on. We had the players then. That was
I think you want to create some moments that you can sort of really remember. There's been some great moments on the pitch where one of the younger players had a great run, which, because it was at Leamington, was captured on the video. It was fantastic. You got all these he properly gassed them. He then sort of went inside. If he'd have just kept going, it would have been a fantastic try. He actually scored a try a bit like that the weekend, didn't he? But so we've had some great moments on the pitch. We had a win. That wasn't not in the programme. That's...
we wanted the season, but we weren't fussed when it came.
Right.
You know, if it came at the end, or if it didn't come, I don't think we would have been as fussed either, to be honest. Like I said, and the other one was probably that getting an away game, because that was a big getting an away game in and playing an away game.
I mean, there's teams, you know, been around 7, 8, maybe 10 years. They struggle away games sometimes. You know what I mean? So to fulfil one is massive, isn't it?
No, because we had lots of teams willing to come to us. You know, we weren't going to turn them down. You're not going to turn a home game down, but we were like that Leamington game. We were desperate to get away and play Leamington.
No matter how. I mean, even despite being described as a turnstile, I put my kit on for that game. I said I was going to come on, but I was just waiting, and then the referee blew his final whistle, so that ran out of time. So I watched it in my full kit, and I had a shower afterwards as well.
John Terry.
It was a bit like that. So, I mean, there's been loads of positives like that. And everything, you know, going and watch the Hurricanes game, getting stuck into that, making an impact. I mean, our first game, we tied in with some of the rugby union stuff around the tackle heights. Was covered in the Times. It was mentioned on the back page of the Times newspaper.
It was, yes. I forgot about that, yeah.
So, I mean, you know,
yeah. I remember that.
History already.
We've had, unfortunately, this was because you then sort of said you've got to stop doing that, but we did a video. We've had a video that went viral. It was on the rugby union page, and again, it was connected to this tackle height stuff, which we said how we're preparing for next season's tackle height change, and it's us against the Royal Signals. And one of our players basically coming in and sort of clothesline to the back of someone's head, knocking him over. We actually knew the player who was on the opponent because he sorted the game. Mikey Harrison, who's involved in the Royal Signals Rugby League team. And who was it? It's Mitch Everell, sorry, yes. Mitch does this sort of clumsy tackle and knocks him over. Mikey was fine, gets back up, and we put that on there. That got 1 million views. Yeah, so it just gone through 1 million views. It somehow must have plugged into the... It's 9 seconds long. I'll need to do a post about the fact that it's got 9 million views. It's almost spoiled if we're trying to advertise things now to like local businesses, whatever, because it's complete. All our statistics, like your average views on your videos is like 250,000 a week or something, which I don't know. I think if you were a local chip shop saying we want a 30 quid for a man of the match sponsor, they might think that that's just complete bullshit.
The worst part about that video is slightly too short because he nearly takes his head off, and then Mikey incorrectly plays the ball, and they reverse the decision. You're like, I think that should have been a penalty.
That's mad. I mean, you know, of all the clubs in the region, no one will have £1 million, you know, a million view video, and I dare say none of the clubs have been in the Times either.
No.
Not for want of trying.
Smashed it year one.
I don't think it's on the standard of rugby either.
No, it was so that I mean, there's those two things. It's an all round.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, we just got to grow it out now, right? I mean, that's the thing that we take from this is that, I mean, we are saying to the other rugby union clubs, you need to get on this, and you're crazy if you're not doing it, because on our club, and I guess this did help us do it, we haven't got this big committee or anything along those lines. It's been profitable, by the way. We'll be, by the end of it, 3 or 4 grand up on the summer.
Flipping heck.
Profit.
As opposed to, I mean, would you normally make a loss in the summer then? Yeah.
No income over the summer, more or less. I mean, it also...
A couple of events maybe. And that's
and because we were down there more often, we then... It sort of almost encouraged us to do more stuff and have more stuff on. I mean, it wasn't entirely rugby league. We made sure that the junior sections, presentations were all separate, and we've had we wanted to do lots of events this summer anyway, but it's been massively helpful to do that. And there's lots of rugby union clubs who have got expensive facilities. Ours isn't really. It's quite a modest rent, quite modest everything really, but have got proper expensive assets to... thousands of pounds per week to pay, keep the lights on and everything else. And they're sitting more or less empty. I mean, why wouldn't you want 3 or 4 rugby league? There will be, within your club, there will be players who would really enjoy this. And if you did it for a couple of years and it didn't, it's fine, but they definitely need to give it a go. We'd like to see...
You know, it's incredible. I've been involved in rugby league outside the Heartlands for years, 20 odd years. And I've never really come across a club, like a union club, that has embraced it and said things like that. Encouraged other clubs to get on it, give it a go. There is an upside to this. So to hear that is He's brilliant.
Well, I think for us, it'd make more competitive games. You know, 'cause we know where we
Yeah.
are. We're not going to be knocking on the Premiership door anytime soon. You know, so.
Like, fucking hell, you get the Times. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
all I'm saying,
Who knows?
this year or next year, it's not going to happen, is it? Maybe in 3 years it might. You know, but what I'm saying is,
Yeah, well, you don't know. You don't know, do you?
well, you don't know, but
You don't know.
It'd be nice to get some more clubs so we can play competitive games. You know, what we don't want to be losing 70 points every week. But we also don't want to be winning 70 points every week against teams who aren't as good, you know. We want to be
I know
competitive games.
There are players up Stoke-on-Trent that had a team almost a couple of years ago, and I know they're still knocking about. And I know from speaking to a couple of people, they're still looking for a team to sort of be created, really. So
see, what I'd say though is either come to us or start your own team.
Yeah,
you know, and we wouldn't begrudge anyone doing that. You know, I would prefer that.
We'd prefer it. I mean, I've literally been saying to them. I mean, one of the I'm really on at Staffordshire Rugby Union Club. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's the most spectacular facility. It's got to be one of the best grassroots facility in the country. Not just rugby, just any sport. And I've been pestering one of the guys who's on their board and said, "What, you know, why are you not doing this? You need to be doing this." And again, I don't think the reality of it is. I was speaking to a chairman of a rugby union club today, and he said, "Oh, well, it's like your season's not going to, you're playing all year round." I said, "It's not really been like that, because it's a good mix. The players who've been doing it, first of all, have been coming from other clubs. Second of all, there is first team players who played most of it. Matt's played every game. There's a lad called Jake Graham who's played every game. Most of the others have played some games, and not others. So then it's a mixture of some of the second team lads, some of the younger lads. I mean, the massive. I tell you, the one massive bonus rugby league over rugby union, the process to get 16-year-olds. I mean, in rugby union it's 17. You've got to go through this horrendous administrative process. It's got a little bit better, but it's a pain. But to have be able to get 16-year-olds playing, we've got.
So what is it, like a bit of a safeguarding thing? And
I think it is. The explanation is it's a safeguarding point, and no doubt it is. I mean, I guess a little bit. In the summer, the changing rooms it sounds a bit sort of smelly or whatever. The lads, the 16-year-olds, some of them will just almost like come down changed and they ain't running in the showers. But I guess it's more difficult if you're playing a rugby union game in November in the mud and you need to do all that stuff. So I think there might be something about that. I mean, in rugby league, it's just your mum now fills out the registration form and says, ticks a box.
You've been signed to go.
Yeah,
pitches that way.
And you know, we've had probably half a dozen more of them played last weekend. 16, 17-year-olds, and some of them will play again this weekend. I mean, that's been...
And they're quite good. That's the other thing.
they're
they're fast and they tackle.
Do you have any plans then, outside of the first team, to be developing some sort of under 17s, under 16s, or any junior teams?
So I coach my son's under 11s rugby union team, and we are Baz's team, Moorfield. We're going to have a little bit of a summer session based around playing them. It's only going to be one game, but we're going to play them at the end of August. We'll need to get them registered and go through the formalities for it. So we will have I think we will likely develop that. I mean, it's relatively straightforward to do.
I mean, we were just happy to play this year, weren't we? I mean, I think our initial plan was 6 games, wasn't it? Play 6 games over the summer and see where it takes us.
You've already played more than 6, haven't you?
Well, we played 7 already, yeah. And we've got
8 this weekend.
Yeah, we've got 4 lined up, haven't we? So it's just kind of, but it's because we had the interest. So the lads were willing to play. So we've just carried on with that. But then when we've talked about it then, it's like, well, we could have a junior section next year. We could get these lads playing. We might not get loads, But the other thing we was talking about is it doesn't matter if they're from other clubs. If Cannock want to start up a team and some of the guys from Rucci want to go over, but that's what they should do, isn't it? Yeah, get out and just play rugby league.
That's how some of the women's teams have formed. They just started advertising it this year. I know Telford did the same, and they were expecting more of the players to come from Telford, and they actually found they've come from all over the place. Like say Cannock, Staffordshire, Shropshire, Shrewsbury. They've just appeared from all over the place.
The natural progression would be for there to be a women's rugby league team in Staffordshire, and I mean, we're prepared to facilitate that. If you like, I mean there's only so much you can be directly hands-on involved in as yourselves. But
see, Cannock got a really strong women's team, haven't they? Rugby union team. And if they set up as Staffordshire Quantums and base themselves
and did the women's side of it,
yeah, we'd be all for that, wouldn't we?
We'd be all for that. And we've started a women's rugby union team mainly focused on touch rugby this summer. Of course, we introduced that. So I play a bit of social with my sort of poor tackling techniques, which serves me quite well. But now I know all the tactics. I'm like, do not pass the ball for the first 3 sets. We just run that straight, get as high up there as possible.
You can be that guy that were on wing that were telling everybody what to do.
So we've Calvin's drinking buddy.
Yeah. Get up there. So we've introduced it into that.
You've clearly got an amazing culture in your group of lads. What other things have you done, like social, nights or?
Well, actually that's an element we were discussing this today, weren't we? So we've mainly. I mean, it's the summer. You're down there, and we stayed after the game. That's pretty much.
Yeah.
I say that we've been to the Hurricanes on the days like several times. We're going to do We're going to do something to mark the end of the season, but I don't think we don't want it to be like a dinner or anything like that. We just. Yeah. I mean, I said a curry would be great. He said, you just anything that involves eating, but so we're gonna have an afternoon out. There's no rugby involved in it, really. I think is the plan.
We was talking about a tour, weren't we? But I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think something for next year, though.
Yeah, I do quite fancy that Challenge Cup final. I think might be going down to Wembley might be good. So perhaps, but
that's something I asked you. Do you both support a team in the Super League, or have you adopted a side?
Oh, I'm Leeds Rhinos.
Oh no!
There you go, lads. There you go. Don't tell me you're Bradford.
No. I know this isn't one of the popular ones, but only because I got some pretty cool stash from Salford Red. So I got some
Salford. I've got good stash.
The logo's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I know that's like a sort of thing that a 15-year-old boy would be interested in terms of the kit, but I thought the stash was quite good. We haven't quite got into that. I haven't quite got into that. I'm watching loads of it now.
Yeah.
But,
I guess we're Hurricanes fans now, aren't we?
I guess we are. I mean, my son is...
Right answer.
My son is massively into the Hurricanes. He's got his kit. He plays football. He plays plays rugby league at the end of this summer, and he's... he quite a part of that is the songs and having a hot dog and all of that sort of stuff that 11-year-olds like. So, yeah, I mean that's actually I would say that if you asked me to support, I would say the Hurricanes.
Yeah, that's quality, isn't it?
And I think that's going to.
Yes.
But that's how it should be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a local professional team, isn't it? There's no one close.
I think what they have done there, and I know that Karl, you've been involved in it to a certain extent, but that whole thing whereby you say, well, look, these are the grassroots clubs. And we're going to promote them. People who play sport are more likely to watch that sport. That's a simple fact of life. Yeah. And actually, I think if we can grow the grassroots in the Midlands, that will also help the Hurricanes.
It will. Yeah.
And I think that what we would say, I'm not pointing fingers, we need more of those clubs supporting the Hurricanes like the Hurricanes have been supporting those clubs. We've been there. I've been there 3 times now. I saw a couple of Telford lads a couple of times. We need some of the other guys to come up. They will enjoy it. It's good fun. Nice atmosphere. They've got the music blaring out. It's quality sport as well, I think. I know last couple of games have been difficult for the Hurricanes, but it's very watchable. It's very watchable sport.
Yeah, I mean, we did sort of talk. Well, I don't know where this came from. Might even have to cut this out, but they were talking about like a little festival or something, weren't they? For the Hurricanes.
There's all I'll say is the club.
He's gone all tight lips. I've
got to think about what I can say and what I can't say. There is going to be, certainly my role within the club now is going to be to make sure all our community clubs are better connected to the Hurricanes. Definitely going into next season, we want to bring on board like ambassador clubs and things like that. So, Quantums become an ambassador club of the Hurricanes, and you could even have your badge on the shirt, and you will get back from the Hurricanes X amount, and
it should work.
That it works back and forwards.
With like rugby union, would feed into that professional teams, and they'll have the little regions. There's no reason why all the Midlands team cannot feed into the Hurricanes. That's exactly how it should work.
Yeah,
but I think, again, you never convince people to follow you like this. I mean, I would say you need to go and watch it. It's good sport and it's a really good day out. But I would, sort of almost look at the camera and say, "Come on, guys, this club is supporting you. Get up there, wherever it's pretty centrally located.
Yeah.
It's got a train station right there. It isn't hard to get to.
They've got a bar.
Yeah, they've got a bar. They've got pretty good burgers and hot dogs and stuff on double cheeseburger is what I've had every time. Get up there and support it because they're supporting you. And you're never going to convince the masses by sort of jabbing them in the chest and saying, "Come on, you need to do this."
A compelling offer is always better than a convincing argument. That's
right. Yeah,
and
you want to drag you a magnet.
Yeah. So and what people are missing is the fact that they can go down there and experience rugby league at a higher standard. And actually see some stars. I mean, the couple of times I've been down, there's like former Super League players in there. There's up and coming stars playing as well, and it's just been a great atmosphere.
Well, they played Hurricanes played Doncaster last week. Brett Ferris was playing. Yeah, ex-England international.
Yeah, Patrick Arvan
was playing. Yeah, it's the League One is littered with rugby league stars, and if you want to,
one of our few rugby league experiences before this was at Doncaster. So we're talking 20 years ago now. Matt's uncle organises this rugby union tour to Skegness. Now, by the way, Skegness is nowhere near Doncaster. Yeah. And in fact, but on the Sunday on the way back, he said, "Look, got some good tickets," and they were in.
Well, you're missing the bit out here, aren't you? So we went dressed as Blues Brothers in the suits. So
we did tell them this. They didn't know
they did. So on the way back, so anyway, they said, "Oh,
great idea.
We'll get a Blues Brothers tribute band on."
Really?
The game, yes. So anyway, we get to the
season opener. I can't remember who they played.
Yeah, so we get to the game on the way back, but because we've been on rugby tour the whole weekend, no one's got their full suit anymore. So we just walk around the pitch in black trousers and half-ripped white shirts.
It's like a lot of school leavers.
Tramps almost.
Everyone's like, "What the hell is this?"
you promised us Blues Brothers.
Well, they got the proper on the middle of. They got like a little mini podium in the middle of the stage, and they're belting out. Everybody needs a model, and we're wandering around like a bunch of. Went into the bar afterwards. I was telling one of the Doncaster fans that the other week. There is a bit of needling in the Goes games as well, though, isn't it? From the fans, I mean, some of them are like, it's proper. It's proper sport, all right.
Yeah, like anyway, people they wear their heart on the freaking sleeve. You know what I mean? And their town is everything. And they shout out some crap like.
And the ones in the Hurricanes fans, I mean, they've got some proper Hurricanes ultras there, and all the players' names, everything, and that's quite enjoyable sort of watching them and their passion.
Do you know what I like about it? Is that's on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So you play rugby on a Saturday, you can go there on a Sunday. I mean, rugby union needs a lesson from that, doesn't they? There's nothing better than being able to just watch your local team.
What lessons can rugby league learn from rugby union then? Flipping it on its head.
So I think there's one point I'll come back to about the one thing I sort of don't quite like in rugby league. Shall I deal with that first?
Yeah, go for it.
So now Baz says I just need to get over myself. That's just how it works, right? I don't like players on the pitch celebrating an unforced error. So I don't mind it if you go up and you put the pressure on and a player knocks it on.
Yeah.
But when it's like, I don't know, and I get it if it's a big spiral kick in the air, but when somebody knocks it on at the back of the scrum, and there's an atmosphere, there seems to be that as soon as anyone makes any mistake, you've got to go, "Hey," rub the top of their head and all that. That's the one thing I would. That's the one thing I sort of don't always.
No, I think I'd agree.
I agree.
I don't think you'll stamp it out, but I do agree with you. Yeah, I think
you see it in the professional game more than you do it in the amateur level. Over the top celebrating, but
I mean, it's just getting into that opposition's head, into it, and making
and
a meal
celebrating
of it.
Your wins, I guess, as well. I mean, I did notice when we played the Wolf Hunt that their coach made a point, and this wasn't on that issue, but always made a point of saying when they scored a try, and I was watching the game with my crap camera angles on the other side, of saying, right, if they scored a try, come on lads, we need to properly celebrate that and get in the subs on to sort of go around them and celebrate it. In terms of what Rugby League could take, well, I mean, some of it we're trying to implement some of this, right? So we set up a WhatsApp group to aid that communication.
So that's second team rugby for me. You've got a proper second team rugby and willing to go away and losing.
Yeah.
You know, going or even playing at home and losing. You know, that strong team stuff is just a load of rubbish, isn't it? No one gets anything out of playing first team rugby when you're a second team. You know, I think that's the thing.
In Staffordshire, I mean, it's not necessarily the game of rugby union as a whole, but in Staffordshire, actually, the clubs, the second team, third team clubs, have got better as the sport has, you know, struggled over the last sort of 5-10 years or so. They have got a lot better at working together. We're short. Can somebody come over from this team to play? We know Marcus, who's on here, the referee.
Mark Austin.
Yeah, Mark Austin. And we know him quite well because he often plays for our rugby union second team.
Oh, right.
And often his daughter's into swimming, and so often he's more over our way than he is the club that he plays for. And pretty good comms there at getting people down and playing for the clubs and not being worried that, getting the games on is the key. I don't necessarily think that's a rugby union thing across the country, but it is within our sort of local area. Got a lot better at doing that, and I think we're trying to encourage that in rugby league. Hence that three-way triple threat match at the weekend. More, I mean, we could do loads more of them, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And you know, and all of those teams that are the numbers aren't there. It just makes sense.
We just need people playing every weekend, regardless.
Especially the new players. I mean, if you get them honestly, I think if you get them new players playing 2 or 3 games within a month, all of a sudden they're hooked. That's what happened to us, I think. We just played lots of games. We weren't bothered if we was going to lose. But all of a sudden then the lads just invested. Think, I like this. Because it's all the good stuff about rugby, isn't it? It's not none of the boring stuff.
Yeah.
It's carrying ball, tackling. That's what everyone wants to do, isn't it? You know, that's the fun bit of rugby.
Yeah,
the scrums and the rucks and whatever else. You know, people do like it, you know, but it's not the fun bit. The fun bit's running through, scoring tries, attacking, big hits. That's what you want to be. You know, you want to be doing. Really.
There's very few people and I think this is true, that very few people that we've introduced to it have not liked it. They've all liked it virtually. Maybe a handful who tried that very first game when who haven't been back since, but virtually everyone else has been, that was brilliant. I really enjoyed it.
There's a bit that you said on one of the podcasts where it's like, it's hard, good. You know, that's what you want, isn't it? You know, and I think it is hard, but I think what we've learned is that first game we played was really hard. And then as people start learning what they're doing, you're not doing as much because everyone else is pitching in. Yeah. It's probably not as hard. So the first couple of games probably are really hard. But then after that, when you know what you're doing, it gets a bit easier, doesn't it? It's just trying to get people over to that point where they know what they're doing before they leave. You know, and I think that's just playing competitive games, getting them games in early and just playing.
I think there is a higher standard of fitness in it. There definitely is. Albeit actually, as you learn how to play it, stuff around the tackle means that you can manage the fitness better by clearly going down that one side of the pitch so those players can, can have a bit of a break.
Why are you pretending you know what you're talking about?
Paz told me this. I've been listening to him.
Yeah, Paz.
So he told me that, and it's true. You don't have to. And you do get that thing as well when we first started off, whereby the same players just trying to take it up, cook it up every single. That you quickly realise that
you can't do that. You just can't
do that.
Get anywhere there. Yeah, lads, is there anything that we should have asked you that you'd want to get across in this episode? And there doesn't have to be if you don't think there is.
On the way down, was talking about our rugby league background.
Oh yeah,
and I thought, Martin's rugby league background is probably a lot more impressive than mine, so I thought I'd let him talk.
No, my rugby league background was I went to that Doncaster game, dressed as the police brothers.
Jaco, what's the one called? Elwood, was it?
Both of them were on there. They got, and actually, I think they're pretty good. I think they had got a tall, skinny one and a fat one, so it's pretty deep. In Doncaster that day, I did go to the Rugby League World Cup, the one that was in Principality Millennium Stadium when
Cardiff
England played.
England v Australia.
Quite a tight game.
Double header. Yeah, I was there.
And it was Italy versus somebody afterwards. Wales afterwards.
Yeah.
And
that might come in handy for your golden point question. That. So,
that was pretty much the sum of it before all of this. But now, like, you know, I'm like an ultra, so I did
ultra.
The games are quite good times in the week as well. Like the Thursday night game, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, and I know sometimes it's like one of the rubbish teams. I know even you know it's Wakefield on a Thursday night or whatever. But
get a mention every week. Wakefield.
You know, but that's I've got into that. But yeah, it's pretty limited, wasn't it, before this summer?
Yeah, and your rugby league pedigree?
I played 2 seasons in the army, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after that, it was just watching it on TV.
But do you think you're going to be involved for years to come, or are you just flash in a pan? Or
we love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm invested in it, to be honest.
Yeah.
We say rugby union just for fun now. We're rugby league players.
That's what we were saying, wasn't it?
League for pros.
Yeah, that was it. That was exactly it. League for pros.
That's what we were saying, wasn't it? We're a rugby league team who plays rugby union for fun.
There is something. I mean, that's why I think we're quite well used to it. I think we probably always have been. We just didn't.
Know it.
Yeah.
We just didn't realise it really. You know, I mean, I did when I mentioned to my son that we were. I might sort this game out for him, and I was sort of a bit winded up. I said, they're an academy side we're playing. They're not. But
how old is he?
He's 11, and
right.
he was. I don't fancy. And I told him, no, don't worry, it's not. Anyway, we're down at like one of the days we got down the club, and I'm hearing him talking to one of his mates. We're going to be playing rugby league this summer. And you can tackle anywhere, even straight on the head. But we found out the weekend you can't have it, or you can, and then eventually get a red card. But so I thought that was quite a good conversion.
Good advertising.
Well, I mean, you're the first sort of union lads, I suppose, that have spoke about, you know, turning to league because of this tackle. We kind of suspected at the start of the season, didn't we? We half mentioned it with Matt, but you guys are properly delved into it.
So, I mean, ironically, we've got a slight different position. You're not that bothered about it. I was more bothered by how it was done. Was bad. I mean, we've had it. There was the first under-20s game, wasn't there? There was about 60 penalties at the weekend.
So rugby league are potentially going to go down that avenue, aren't they? Which is, you know, being aided by doctors and all the rest of it. So yeah, Leeds and Bradford played an academy game this weekend, and there were 59 penalties. So they lowered the tackle height to the same as what rugby union's got it. There were 59 penalties in the game. Apparently, the players just lost interest. The fans said it were an absolute shambles. I just don't see it ever working in rugby league. And not only that, I don't actually, in my head, don't believe that that's any safer lowering tackle. If you're lowering the tackle out, you're closer to people's knees.
Well, I think it's the two up tackle. I mean, I broke my cheekbone both going low.
Yeah.
Cut my eye open both going low, you know, and I think two people going low is more injuries than one going high, one going low.
And kind of what I've realised is actually what you're trying to do with rugby league tackle is slightly different to what you're trying to do in rugby union anyway. Yeah, you are trying to sort of, that top man is trying to grab him and drive him down and around.
And control the ball.
It's not about actually getting somebody to the floor as quick as you can. It's actually about controlling that tackle. Whereas in rugby union, it's about making them hit that deck, isn't it? So for the turnover and the rest of it, in rugby league, it's more about contact and making sure you're in control of that tackle. You've wrapped that ball up so that nobody can feed it out. Yeah, it is. I don't think it's ever going to work lowering the tackle height in rugby league.
I think it takes away from the game.
It'd be just a shambles, I think.
People want to play a game where you've got potential to hurt each other. You know, if it was boxing, you could only add body shots. People would just stop boxing. They'd go to MMA.
And I think, don't get me wrong, I think some of us can take away. We do have to change our approach to these things. So. People, when they are concussed, need to be taken off the pitch. There's nothing. Nothing macho about coming back on after you've had a whack. Let me on. Sorry, mate. you're out of this game if you've had a headshot. I mean, there's the Bass was talking about that last week, that Sam Burgess NRL match where in effect he breaks his cheekbone in the first hit of the game by the other English player, wasn't it?
James Graham.
And I guess that's at the elite level anyway. But there's nothing necessarily macho about playing when you're concussed. That we need to change the culture there.
And I think the refs need to be better tuned on that as well. Union and league.
I think they have become, though, aren't they? There's certainly a lot of focus on it now. You can't have a head injury now and carry on playing.
No.
And I suspect, they need to. It needs to be avoided if we can. I think it'll make it safer, but. The change in the tackle is just not going to work in Rugby League, I don't think. From what I've experienced this summer, it's going to be a disaster.
Okay, so over to our extra time golden point, which was set by, we've got two actually, one Becky Davis and one set by Darren Mawson. Here's a little clip with that. Okay, so I'm going to pile the pressure on here. I'm going to ask you both for a golden point question. Over to you first, Becky. What is it?
Okay, mine is going to be, please, can you demonstrate your ability to sing Baby Shark?
Which is a belter. And I can't wait
Entertainment
for this.
value, 100%. Thank you.
All right, Darren, what you got?
We're talking about GB earlier. So we talked about the John Davis try at Wembley against the Aussies. So what's everyone's favourite GB try down under?
Quality question. Thank you very much. Just to recap her question, can you give us an example of singing Baby Shark?
Fair enough. I've just got back on a holiday from Turkey, and that was what was happening every single night.
Yeah.
Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark.
Grandma.
I thought I'd put enough.
No, the end goes, run away, do 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 do. I'll safe at last, do 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 do. I know most of them.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. I think she was hoping that would kind of catch you out, but you lads just launched into it.
And that's definitely the trailer intro for this week's show.
Okay, and the question from Darren Mawson. What is your favourite Great Britain try? So, with such what's happened here? With such rugby league, pedigree, you should be able to answer that quite easy.
Oh, I'm going to go for the very last one that they scored. I thought that was fantastic. How about you, Martin? I thought you were a big fan of the first one.
That was the first one that they scored was pretty good. I saw a great one that Martin O'Fire he posted on his social media the other day.
Yeah,
and that was pretty good. But I mean, he's always scored tries running him in from
miles out,
didn't he? And so I guess I'd pick. That's the most recent one I've watched, so it would be that one.
I'm not a fan of this picking on people for their lack of knowledge.
No, this is where.
But the good news is you get to set the golden point for next year. Next week. Lads, it's been an absolute pleasure to not only meet you, but chat to you and hear about the history of your club, albeit short, illustrious already, and it's been amazing to hear about that. And just from me, for whatever it's worth, anybody that's involved in your club, thank you for throwing everything that you have into it, because you've all made some real talking points. And me and Karl are always talking about what you lads are up to, whether it's gobbing off down to the Hurricanes or, putting on a little three-way, whatever we're calling it, at the weekend. So thanks from me.
Yeah, I've spoke to you all year, aren't I, guys? You just embraced rugby league like every rugby team should. I think you've just been absolute shining light of the Midlands League this year. So please continue doing what you're doing. And if you've got any tips on how to get to 1 million views on YouTube,
I'll show you the video after this.
Fire it over to us.
It's probably the only bit of community rugby league is at 1 million views this summer. I'll show you. No, listen, guys, thanks for having us on. And we've just loved it, and sort of thank you, Rugby League. It's been great for us, and long may it continue.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's it for this episode. As I look forward, we have got an interview with Oxford Are they still Cavaliers nowadays?
Yep, still the Cavaliers.
Still Cavaliers. So we'll be chatting to them over the next couple of weeks. All right, so until the next episode, take care. That's the final whistle for this week's episode of the Rugby League Outsiders. We hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow us on social media and share this podcast with your friends. And as always, if you have a story to tell, a club to plug, or a player that deserves recognition, we want to hear from you. So until next time on the Rugby League Outsiders, take care.